Okay, Tom, this is where there's some confusing. We're gonna talk about the divorce between mom and dad, and then the marriage. I think we're gonna talk a little bit about that, but we have some confusion as to where the Corn Lane, and maybe my brothers can fill us in on that. They might have better memories, and I'm not even sure if this is the way it happened. But I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, and Mother doesn't remember either, but what I'm thinking is that Dad, my biological dad, Lee, put my mom in Corn Lane and to rent out there. But he never lived there, and I think we were only there a short time at this time. And Dad didn't like the whole archery thing and what transpired there, and I think Dad moved us out of that, out of the Corn Lane.
Roy or your father?
We're talking about Lee. We're talking about Lee, my dad. And Mother ended up moving over by Highland in little apartments. We were only there in the little apartments for a short time, and then we moved over to the duplex apartment. And all the time, my biological father, Lee, was never there, although Mother and him were still married. And this is when things got the worst for us, or I remember it being worse. Like I said, I can only go off my memories. And so anyway, Dad was giving Mother a really hard time at this time. And we were in the apartments, and I remember going into the apartments because it had a swimming pool, and she was working out at the test site. But let's talk about the divorce from what you remember and how you ended up with the divorce. And like I said, the memories are really, all that time frame was really intertwined. Because I remember you jumping out of the car. So talk about that Roy wanted you to talk to Dad. Remember, in the car incident?
Yeah, but which one? I had 3.
You jumped out of the car 3 times?
Yeah.
See, I don't know any of that. I know the one time, but we were living in Corn Lane.
Well, that was the big one, I think.
Yeah, that was the big one.
That was when he took me up to the mountains and threatened to go over the cliffs.
Yeah.
Oh, and when I got home, it was in those where you lost your ring.
No, that was the small apartments where I lost my ring.
Well, that's where we were right then. And
but I remember
and you had to sleep with me.
Yeah, but I remember the bruises on your body, and we were in Corn Lane at that time.
Listen, you haven't seen anything until you saw the bruises on Joy's body. You remember Joy?
Well, I do, but they were both alcoholics, and they were both beating on each other. So, and we're not going to talk about her right now. We might talk about her later on.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, but I want to talk about. I want to talk because Lee, my dad, was really taking a spiral spin down at this point in his life. But anyway, what I do remember is the bruises on your body. But tell me about Roy. You were trying to save money up for a divorce. So tell me about that.
Well, every day after work, I'd stop by this little grocery store down the street and get a loaf of bread or whatever, milk or whatever I needed. And I'd stop by, if Roy's light was on, I'd stop by and he'd be in the office. And asked me how I was doing. I told him I was having a hard time trying to get enough money for a divorce. And he asked me how much I needed. I said $400. And I said, I got about $300. And he just ripped me off a check and gave it to me. So I gave it to the lawyer, I've forgotten his name now, the next day. And that was when he wanted to know who hit me. I guess that's why, one of the reasons I got hit. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, Dad was just kind of not being very nice at the time. But the gist of this is that Roy did give mother the money to get a divorce because Dad was being really, really abusive to her.
Yeah, he was too.
And I remember the time, and I guess this is what I really want to get across to the Allred family, and that Roy stood between my mom and my dad.
He did.
And I always looked at him as a protector. And Roy, even though he was a quiet man, he carried a big stick. You know, and that's what I remember about Roy. And I'm going to start crying here now. And I remember my mom coming in to the apartments. And she had gotten the divorce. And I remember her coming in and telling us, announcing to us that we were in the apartments now. I'm sorry, I'm going to try and get myself together here. But
Take a break. Take a break.
Yeah, I will. Because this is important. One of the happiest times of my life was when my mom came into the apartments. And her and Roy came in. And I think Uncle AP was there. He was watching us and you guys had gone out. And came in and said that, asked me how I felt about Roy and her marrying him. And I have to think that was one of the happiest times in my life. But anyway, Roy was always a protector to us. And he was always a kind man to us. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that so I can get myself together.
And we moved back to Corn Lane.
And we moved back to Corn Lane. And so anyway, I think it's important that you know that your dad protected us and took care of us. So, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that.
Bye, Tom. I'll see you later.
Anyway, sorry for my breakdown, but that's the way it is, and we're going to do this.
What's the name of Samantha's baby?
I don't know. We're not going to talk about that just yet, but we're going to get into Samantha and all that good stuff. We're going to get into some good stuff and some hard stuff, and we're just going to get it down.
Gee, I didn't know it was going to be this good.
Well, I didn't either, Mother, so it's fine, but that was a hard time in our life, so...
Oh, boy, I never had it. You know what? I'll tell you something that I thought of at 2 o'clock in the morning. This is where my thoughts go when I can't sleep. But I was living in Los Angeles, didn't have any kids at that time. And I was doing pretty good. And, you know, I wasn't frightened of your dad or anything like that. But the knock came on the door one day, and I opened it up, and this is a girl I knew in Australia.
Well, where are we going with this?
Well, I'm telling you.
Well, does this have anything to do with the Allred family and Roy? Okay, well then I'm going to cut it off here, and we'll visit about that.
I'm telling you a story that I thought of at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, well, but I'm gonna cut it off here, and anyway, I'm back together, and didn't mean to get so emotional.
I didn't know you were recording.
Yeah, I am. I didn't mean to get so emotional on everybody, but, you know, like I said, this was a kind of a dark spot. It was a dark spot, but it was a good spot, and I think you need to know that about Roy, your grandpa. Like I said, he was our protector. For me,
I never met Donna.
Yeah, well, I know. And he was our protector, and he kept us safe at a dark place, and... This isn't meant to make my dad look bad. I think my dad was in a bad place also. So, you know, it is what it is. And we're just going to go on. So, anyway, love you guys. And talk to you later. Bye.